This is the Gabe and Walt Show soundcheck.
This is the soundtrack for the Gabe and Walt show.
There you go. I mean, that's all that there needs to be.
Yeah. And welcome. Welcome everybody to the Gabe and Walt show. My name is Gabe. I almost said Walt. I am joined by my other more senior half.
There you go.
The fully white bearded Walt. Also, you guys can't
fully-
see.
Fully white bearded. I still have
a little
bit.
a little bit. So you guys can't see this, but Walt does have okay, not fully white bearded,
No,
but
look,
it's
see?
pretty white at the very bottom, like a half face.
Yeah, I would say
half
that.
white.
Like, I got this weird line at the top, which is black and stuff, and then everything below it is white. So, yeah, there you go.
Anyway, this is your weekly podcast. We're going to be talking sports. We're going to be talking basketball, baseball, maybe even get to some football, some hockey, everything that we can get to. But before we do, want to thank you guys for joining us and want to ask you guys to take the time to please like, rate, share, and subscribe. Hit that share button right now. Send this over to a friend that you want to partake in this discussion that we are about to begin. But most importantly, thank you guys for joining us.
There
So,
you go.
Well, I know that we before we started recording, we were talking about like everything, how we're going to format the topics, but there is something a little bit important that we want to talk about, or at least touch on before we get into sports. It's important that we all recognize that while sports are a pastime that's supposed to be a little bit of an escape from the daily, I guess the daily going ons and stuff, and day-to-day life, work life, home life, all that stuff. We all love sports because it's a little bit of an escape. It gives us a little bit of excitement, and it's a little bit of a mental break from everything. But there's some stuff going on in the world that we can't just break away from.
Yeah,
It's
very
something
true.
that affects the entire world, and I'm sure that you guys know what we're talking about. But Walt, why don't you take it away?
Well, 4 days ago, Russia did invade the sovereign country of the Ukraine, and its impacts have been felt worldwide. And at the current state right now, their troops are continuing to drive toward the capital city of Kiev, despite massive resistance by the truly brave people of the Ukraine. I mean, those they have really, you know, shown how brave and resourceful they are. Trying to drive the invaders out. Um, because of that, there's been an outcry worldwide, against the actions of Vladimir Putin, against the actions of the Russian government, and the pressure on Russia is really mounting. We've heard recently there's been tough economic sanctions that are being placed and imposed against them, but like you said, the ramifications are not just there. And since this is a sports podcast, it does impact sports also. And I
Right.
just wanted to touch a little bit about that. One of the biggest, most high profile Russians in the sport world today is Alex Ovechkin from the NHL's Washington Capitals, right? And his family is still in Russia, and he has been kind of a supporter of Vladimir Putin, and there's been an outcry from the fans and from um, just everybody in general for him to address it, which he did just the other day. But he kind of fell short of criticizing Vladimir Putin.
Interesting. I didn't
He
know. I didn't know this happened exactly.
Yeah, this happened in a press session on Friday. He was this is reporting from the Washington Post, and his actual quote is, "It doesn't matter who's in the war, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, different countries. I think we live in a world we have to live in peace and a great world." And when he was asked about Putin, he acknowledged him as saying he's my president, but he did add that I'm not in politics. I'm an athlete. And, I've said I hope everything is going to be done soon. it's a hard situation for both sides, and he's not in control. So while he's kind of denouncing the war, he hasn't come out straight and kind of criticized Vladimir Putin for really
Oh,
starting this
absolutely. There's
war.
no question about it.
I think everybody acknowledges that, right? At this
Absolutely,
point.
no question.
So you have that. You also have the way different ways in terms of in the states. We have two NBA players that are Ukrainians, and ironically enough, they're both on the Sacramento Kings. They released a joint statement saying that a great tragedy befell our dear homeland, the Ukrainians. They condemned the war, you know, and so that's in the states, but worldwide. In terms of football, soccer,
Hmm,
right?
hmm.
Um, you have the UEAF Championship League final, which was supposed to take place in Russia. That's been relocated to France. Um,
F1 states that they're not going to race in Russia either. They're going to cancel.
yeah,
They canceled this year's race.
exactly. Poland and Sweden announced that they're refusing to play Russia in next month's final playoff qualifiers for the 2022 World Cup.
The World Judo Organization officially
Really?
suspended. They officially suspended Putin, who serves as an honorary president and CEO. I think of the World Judo Federation because of his
Wow.
accolades in judo. They've suspended him from the organization.
Well, Manchester United um, is ending their deal with Aeroflot, the official airline of Russia,
Hmm.
um, their largest Russian thing. Um, and for the football club Chelsea, and this is a very, very interesting situation that's going on here, because that team that happens to play in the English Premier League
Hmm.
is owned by a Russian. The owner is Roman Abramovich, and they're the champions in that league.
Right.
Uh, and the British government actually suggested to Parliament that they should seize his assets and ban him from owning the club. 2 days later, he decided that he was going to step down and he was going to give the running of the football club to the trustees of his charitable foundation.
Take away the
So
chance to ban him.
yeah, I mean he's still the owner, but that's taken away. And then finally, the International Olympic Committee, they categorically condemned them, uh, and they are now pushing for all international sports federations to either relocate or cancel any sporting events that are planned not only in Russia but also in Belarus.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, this is huge in the sports world, but it's also the very, very, very right thing to do.
oh,
Um,
absolutely.
you can't be complicit. And I mean, I understand some of the athletes, they can be put in tough positions where they don't want to show what side they're on, or they don't want to get involved in politics. And I think that that's fair.
Hmm.
I think that it's fair. I think people have a right to keep their political views to themselves. We all know that there's certain people that should not have a microphone at all in the first place. But I think it's okay to want to not let your athletic career be impacted by your own political views. I totally agree with that. But that being said, the organizations that we support, the organizations that we pay money to, should not be complicit
Right.
in something, the atrocity that's happening. Because
Hmm.
really, this is a huge operation on a grand scale from every aspect, from the cyber warfare aspect, from in international treaties aspect, from false flag operations and propaganda, and this it's just so bad on every level that I
Yeah.
honestly don't know what Putin is thinking. I don't know what he's going to gain from this.
I don't know either. And you know what, the thing about it is that this is such a major event, and we can't kind of just push it aside, because this has implications that it can actually cause a greater conflict. I mean, you already heard of reports where Belarus is actually considering bringing in troops to help out Russia
Yeah,
within the Ukraine. And one thing that I did forget to mention, and probably the most high profile of all of the things that we talked about, we've got to talk about the Klitschko brothers, right?
oh
Because I
man, yeah,
believe
absolutely.
I believe one of them is actually the mayor of Kiev.
So Vitali, I believe it's Vitali.
Hmm.
Vitali is the mayor of Kiev, and Alexander is I don't know how he's involved, but yeah, the both of them, like from day one, they took to the streets armed and ready to fight, and they've been fighting.
Yeah,
And that's from the sports world, that's kind of a big deal. The Klitschko brothers have been household names all over the world, and now defending their homeland.
yeah,
Uh, but um, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy how grand of a scale this conflict is, and it has the potential of becoming even grander. But
I hope not. I really
I
don't.
really hope not. I
You
don't
know,
think that it will. I think that Russia is going to be hurting in every which way imaginable.
well,
Regardless of the outcome.
you have
And
heard that these economic sanctions that they've placed on them is starting to take effect, because I believe their stock market closed today because they were afraid it was going to crash, and they've already raised the interest rates to above 20%, just to kind of make sure that nothing happens. There's been run on the banks in that for foreign exchange items,
yeah,
but prior to all of this, apparently Putin, he amassed a $6 billion war chest to try and mitigate some of this
yeah,
stuff.
for
But you
sure.
know
But the
what?
thing is that, like, the
Eventually,
people,
that's going to run out.
that's gonna run out. The people of Russia aren't really on his side, despite like his autocratic
That's
kind of rule.
amazing. That's amazing, because you don't normally see people out and actively opposing Putin in the streets in Russia.
Very true. And then the other thing too is that, again, end game wise, what is he gonna do? He's gonna if he takes over Ukraine, eventually it's gonna fall back to the Ukrainian people, and he's gonna have to deal with all these sanctions. Or he
Hmm.
doesn't take over Ukraine, and this entire exercise was for nothing. Anyway,
Yeah,
the end result of all this stuff is that obviously the entire world is reacting coherently and in the right direction, and very especially the sports world. So it's good to see that the entire world of sports is unified in not just their condemnation, but um in kind of enacting consequences for this kind of thing going on.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
um
So we hope the best for all the Ukrainian people, and we hope that they come out, and all this madness really stops. So
true.
uh,
Anyway, now back to the actual world of sports, where we're in right now with the news and everything that's coming out, and breaking news that happened today. If you guys are listening to this, by the time you listen to this would have already made headlines everywhere. But Derek Jeter abruptly and out of nowhere, with no warning whatsoever, is
hmm
stepping down as CEO of the Miami. I almost said the Miami Dolphins. Uh,
the
the Miami
Marlins.
the Miami Marlins, and not only just stepping down as CEO, he's also he's stepping down as CEO, but also giving up his shares.
Yeah, he's getting
In
rid of everything.
He's getting rid of everything, and here's the thing that makes it so kind of like striking. Typically, whenever somebody's stepping down, it's like, oh, like effective, usually 8 weeks time, give
Hmm.
time for the organization to kind of catch up, time for the organization to decide on an interim CEO or to look for someone else, and so on and so forth. But yeah, just effective immediately. The moment that the news dropped today, which I think was something around 11 o'clock, at that moment is when everyone found out that he is no longer in any way, shape, or form involved with the Miami Marlins. Now,
It's
what do you
crazy.
think of that?
Obviously, there's something going on, because even in his statement, I believe he said that uh, they are. Here's his official statement. Through hard work, trust, and accountability, we transform every aspect of franchise, reshaping the workforce and developing a long-term strategic plan for success. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. He goes on and says, that said, the vision for the future of the franchise is different than the one I signed up to lead.
Mm.
That is a very, very interesting statement. And apparently, there is what I guess we would call irreconcilable differences between the two, between management and himself.
Hmm.
Um, he has been acting as president of baseball operations. You can make the case he hasn't done a very good job because you look at the Marlins and record wise, they are the fourth worst team since he started with that organization back in, I believe, in
2018, I believe.
2017,
I think it was
2018.
2018 officially. Yeah.
So they've been
Well,
categorically bad, but still, you look
but
at
they were
that last
categorically bad
statement.
then already. Like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
my question is, are they, like you said, are they better now than they were before? And I think that is true.
Um, well, they've lost almost 100 games every single season. I mean, the only season that they didn't was the season where baseball was cut short. But you look
Yeah.
at his record, it's 63 and 98, 57 and 105, 67 and 95. They haven't looked like they're moving in the right direction anyway. But
I'm
like I
curious
said,
to know what the stats were the 4 years prior to him joining.
that's a good question. I
Because
could find that out.
again, everything is relative. Just because they're a bad team now doesn't mean that they didn't get better from the point on that he went in.
Hmm.
But regardless, I think that it's huge. I think that this is a big, big deal because either Derek Jeter is just terrible in the front office stuff. I cannot
Hmm.
see your phone.
Okay.
Walt is
But
showing me some stats on the screen, which you guys can't see, but I cannot see anything that's on that screen.
I'll tell you this much. The record has pretty much stayed the same. I will say this: prior to his coming, they were about 50%. You know, his first 2 years, they went at a clip of 39 and 35%. So they took a serious step back the first 2 years he was there.
Okay.
But like you said, the Marlins have been bad for quite a while. They've been under 500 pretty much since 2009, which was the last time they were over
Yeah.
500.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
I don't know how much of that I can put on Jeter. Sometimes you go in there and you think that you can make something better, and sometimes you just can't. Maybe you
yeah.
just can't make the organization better, and it is what it is. You
And I
you can go in there
wonder,
and try. I just don't know. I don't know what that would mean for Jeter. I don't know where he would go after this. I don't
he
know.
doesn't really have to do anything, to be
He
honest. I
doesn't
mean, he
have to
is,
do anything.
he's Derek freaking Jeter. He could do whatever he wants.
I guess. I mean,
He's not.
clearly, he wants to be involved in baseball.
So you know what? Be a silent owner. Go spend your money and just enjoy your retirement
Kind
and
of be
that.
like a Michael Jordan, just
Yeah,
buy a team somewhere.
exactly. I mean, it's not like we're looking at him and judging him based on his managerial style or ownership style and whatnot, because everybody's going to recognize him as Derek Jeter, New York Yankee shortstop.
Yeah, for sure.
So his legacy is already cemented. This to me has always felt like it's kind of like, okay, what do I do after baseball? Oh, you know what? Let me go be a part of a team.
But you know what though? Like, there's another aspect of this too. Is like the reasoning behind it. It doesn't sound like it was an amicable thing because again, not only
Oh
was it
yeah,
abrupt, but it's not only are you giving up being CEO, we're taking away either he's giving back his shares willingly, or they took it away from him. Regardless, that's kind of a big thing. Like, there's not really any reason for you to give up shares in a company, value, stock, and all that.
I wonder
Um,
if he was frustrated because he had a vision and he had a thing that he wanted to do, and maybe he kind of realized, you know what, management isn't willing to meet me there. You know what I mean? So I
I
wonder if
guess
that has
maybe,
to do
maybe,
something.
maybe.
Well, we'll probably find out more in the next coming days and stuff. But that was an interesting thing to see pop up on Sports
Yeah,
Center. I'm like,
yeah,
whoa, what's this?
especially to start the week.
Exactly. So very interesting news out of Miami over there.
So now the other thing about, like, with baseball, obviously we're still in lockdown. Today is supposed to be the official deadline. Today is the deadline to meet the agreement. One which none of us understands why there isn't an agreement yet. Interesting point that I kind of wanted to make. You
Hmm.
know, I was listening to Tiki and Tierney today, and um, they just made kind of like a funny comment. They were
Okay.
like, could you imagine? Well, not imagine because this is the actual situation. But 2 years ago, or even a year ago, if I told you that, like, all right, because of the shutdown, because of the pandemic, we're gonna have no baseball. Then we're gonna have limited baseball, a shortened season. The NBA is gonna be in a bubble. We're gonna deal with all this stuff with the NFL. You're not even really gonna be able to get to games, but eventually that's going to come to an end, and that's coming to an end now, right? Like over here in New York, the vaccine and mask mandate is about to be lifted on the 7th of March.
Hmm.
And just when you think that, like, okay, life is going to get back to normal, still no baseball because there's a lockout instead. It's kind of crazy.
It's not kind of crazy. It is crazy. I mean, they're talking about today. This is their deadline for making the start of the season. And from all the reports that we hear so far, that's not happening because
Yeah,
these guys are. It's not. They're not close. They're not even
they're
semi
nowhere.
close.
Yeah, they're not semi
We're
close. They're
talking
nowhere
about
near.
a canyon, a valley between the two sides and stuff. Um, I just don't get where the owners, and I have to put it on the owners because the owners did lock out the players. The
Yeah,
players weren't looking, they were just looking to kind of negotiate in good faith. And it was the owners that said, okay, well, we're locking the door. You can't come in.
yeah.
Um, I don't know what they're hoping to gain because I think what this does, if anything, it hurts the sport because it's millionaires versus billionaires right now at this point, and the average fan is just like, you can't relate. Guys, you're making a ton of money already. How greedy can you be?
You're making the fans hate you even more. I mean, like, like, nobody ever has a lot of love for baseball team owners. I can't think of an owner that doesn't get booed by the fan base at some point. The only one
That's
that I can think of
true.
is maybe George Steinbrenner, but only because of his style. I think he was hated by a lot of people, but he was also respected because of his style and the things that he did and being so bombastic and everything. And unfortunately, Hal is not George Steinbrenner.
Hmm.
Um, but outside of that, I don't think there's any fan that's on the owner side, and
Well,
this is not helping you get anything. But then again, at the end of the day, they could care less about the fans,
that
truly,
is true.
truly, because if they did that, they wouldn't do this.
Hmm.
Okay, if they
And
cared about the fans,
it's an interesting point because baseball really is the only sport that I can think of outside of hockey, and unfortunately, hockey is kind of like the ugly stepsister in sports right now. But can you name any other sports owners, baseball owners outside of the New York Yankees and the
well,
New York
no, of
Mets?
course not.
But you can do that in basketball. You can definitely do it in football.
Yeah, yeah.
They're more accessible, and I guess
They're
there's
more,
more of
yeah,
a.
they're a little bit more involved in the in that stuff. And I mean, that's why everybody knew who George Steinbrenner was, because George Steinbrenner was involved in the day to day operations. It wasn't just money for him, you
Well, he
know.
was he was a bombastic owner. He loved the attention.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, he bought the Yankees for next to nothing. He bought them for $10 million
Yep.
when they were terrible, and he decided,
Hmm.
like, I don't care what it takes. I love baseball. I love the Yankees. I want to make this team good again, which is kind of what, like, what's his name, Mara's doing with the Mets. They're basically like, well, the
Hmm.
Mets suck. I got the money to make them good again. They're still gonna
I
suck,
know.
but um,
It's funny
hopefully,
though because it's funny because there's a sense in terms of the fans that baseball owners in general really don't care whether they win or lose. They're all about the money,
Yeah, they don't care. They don't really care.
except for yeah, and that's a bad thing, because you want to be involved in a team and you want to have an owner we're lucky that as Yankee fans we've always had an owner that clearly wanted to win. Now, some of his choices weren't the best, especially in the '80s, right?
Yeah, but
But
they were all based and rooted in being a fan.
right,
He's just a
it
fan of
was
the team.
well
I
intentioned. It was
cannot
well
say the same
intentioned.
thing for the Orioles and some of these other teams that have little next to nothing compared to other teams in team spending, because again for them they're like, well, I'll spend what I need to spend in order to make a positive buck.
Right,
They
exactly.
don't care about the winning or the losing as long as people are still coming to buy tickets and still spending $30 on a beer. Okay,
Hmm.
$25 on one chicken tender, which is ridiculous. Looking at
Yep.
you, Yankee Stadium,
$10 for a napkin.
it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
That they really only care about the bottom dollar, because you can care about but if you care about your fans, the fans will give you all the money you want anyway.
That is
Keep the
very,
customer
very
happy, and
true.
the customer will keep coming to you. you know but you keep doing stuff like making the game boring and locking us out and all that stuff. You make fans not even want to watch the game. They'll read it in the newspaper, they'll hear it on the radio and stuff. You're going to lose out all the money from the ticket sales, from the concession stands, from the merchandising, from TV buy ads, because people are not tuning in. Your ratings are so low. The owners, if they cared about the fans, they would be making more money, and that's the bottom line. So
Yeah.
this lockout makes absolutely no sense, and I don't think that they're still talking, I believe, but I don't think that there's any hope that they're going to make a deal today.
No, that's not
You know,
happening. That's
so
definitely not happening.
so
So,
I would wager. Well, let me ask you this: when do you think? How many episodes of the Gabe and Walt show will pass before they come to an agreement?
well, this is our 10th episode.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, from this point on, how many more episodes?
Man, the way things are looking, I'd say about 5 or 6, if not more.
5 or 6 episodes. You think
It,
6 weeks? 6 more weeks?
I don't think I don't think there's an impetus on the owner side to start this thing over, to start this thing going. And I think the hubris of their actions, of their mindset, is that, what, it doesn't matter if we miss games, because you know what, when we start, people are still going to come and pay us, pay the $20 for the hot dog, the $30 for the chicken tenders and stuff. So who cares if they're, in their eyes, they're like, you know what, we're willing to lose $2 to make 10.
Yeah, but they're not losing $2
No, 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 I know,
because
but you know,
a month of no games. You got to remember, baseball's played every single day of the month.
no, no, I understand that, but you know what? These guys are multi-billionaires. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
a lot of the times, these teams that they own is kind of like their little plaything, their little pet project and stuff like
God,
that,
I miss
and they
George
treat it
Steinbrenner.
as such. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really don't think that there's any urgency on the owner side, to be honest, and they're hoping that the baseball players run out of money, and I'm hoping that they're thinking that the baseball players are gonna kind of rebel against their
Well,
union leaders and stuff.
the players, they're still getting their checks.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that at some point they're gonna want to play, and they're hoping that what's going to happen is that the players are going to outright, go crazy and say, you know what, you got to make a deal. We got to get out there. This is our
I don't
livelihood.
know.
And think about it this way: for the veteran, you're taking time away from him. And a veteran, when you're at the end of your career, right? You're looking to win championships. If you're not playing, you're not winning. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. I don't know. You say 6 weeks. I'm gonna say no more than two. I think. I think
that's
that
definitely not happening.
I think that the deadline's hitting today, and I think that they were playing chicken with each other. And now after the deadline, now the real conversation is going to start. Because I think they were just like, well, we're not budging, and the deadline's coming. Well, the deadline's going to be long and past. Now is when the conversation actually starts getting serious. Like, well, now we're actually missing work, and you're actually missing money. how do we fix this? Because
I hope so.
they haven't been missing anything yet. It doesn't hurt the pockets until tomorrow. You know,
Well, Florida does miss out on spring training, and so does Arizona. You know, so
well,
that
that's what
that.
I'm saying though. Like they start missing out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I hope you're right. I really am, because you know what? The longer this goes, the more fans they're going to be bleeding off. So, but
mm.
it is what it is.
Now NBA.
Oh boy.
What?
I didn't watch the last Knicks game. I'm gonna be quite honest.
Okay.
They lost to Philly,
They
who
did lose to Philly. They lost to.
who is somebody we want to talk about, because we don't want to talk about Harden and how well he has
Oh
integrated
yeah,
himself
yeah.
in
He's
Philly.
he's
Right?
he's amazing. He star performance over there,
He's
which
averaging
clearly
almost
shows again,
30 points.
and crazy assist the whole nine. I mean, he fits well. He's a great player. I don't think anybody could deny that he's a great player. He's just a terrible, terrible teammate, because clearly there was nothing stopping him from playing like that here in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
He could have finished out the season, kept playing the way that he's playing, maybe have an actual shot at the championship, because it's not like the Nets don't have a shot at the championship, with Durant and Kyrie Irving,
Hmm.
on the court. Kyrie Irving, like, soon, which we're going to talk about a little bit, but very soon going to be playing all games, hopefully.
Hmm.
Um, Harden really just wants the easy way out, and it's funny because I heard an interview, the post game interview actually. I think it was a post game interview, um, where you know I don't remember the question that was being asked, but it was in reference to being a good or bad teammate. And he said that, like, I'm not a bad teammate. I'm just making sure that I do what's best for me and my career. Well, that's the definition about being a bad
Exactly.
teammate.
You know.
You're literally saying that, like, I will put myself first over anyone else, including the team. Now, if you happen to be happy with what you got going on in your career, yeah, you'll probably be a good teammate. But the moment that, like, you need to be James Harden and look out for James Harden,
Hmm.
basically, if I wish I was that reporter, because I would have asked them, okay, gun to your head, which one, you can only choose one, being a good team player or making sure you have your best career. And it's always going to be your best career. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people would say that. There's no question about it. But being a good team player can also give you a good career, or be great for your career, or be the best thing for your career. It's just that it goes to show his state of mind, that he does not care about the team, unless he is happy with everything that's going on in his life. He
Yeah.
still shows up late to
True.
practice. He still, as soon as games are done and there's time off, he doesn't stay with the team. He flies to some different city to go party, to go to strip club, which is ridiculous to me. Like, I mean, you can party, it's all good. I understand it. Um, but, like, it's a habit of his to not have anything to do with the team unless they're on the court.
I don't know. I mean, Harden is a really good player, but he sometimes he baffles me. He really does. But you know what's fascinating about this? Um, as bad of a quote unquote teammate as he is, right?
Yeah,
Because come on, we gotta call it how it is, right? You know,
yeah,
when you're, like you said, when you're focusing, and you know what, he says the quiet things out loud,
yes,
right?
yes,
Because I know there's a lot of players that, like you said, their instinct is, I've got to do what's right for my career, but you're playing a team game, right?
yeah.
Um, but the interesting thing is how well, in such short a time, has he really kind of integrated
Such
himself,
short a
not
time
only in the,
in one game.
well, he's played two with them, you
Yeah,
know.
but they won. Game one was good.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's usually when you go to a new team, there's like a
There's a
getting
little
to know you
period,
period. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That hasn't happened with these guys. I mean, you look at Joel Embiid and James Harden; they look like they've been playing for 20 years with each other.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
There's that
I mean, that goes
familiarity.
that, that goes to show his actual skill and knowledge of the game. You know,
Yeah.
I just think that like you can do what's best for your career without hurting your teammates, right? Like if you're gonna play like crap for no reason, right? When he was here at the tail end of all the
And
last games that he was playing, like
he
you
wanted
can
to
still,
come here. He wanted to come here.
you know what I'm saying? Like in Houston, over here in the Nets, you can say like, "Hey, I want to be traded. Please trade me," and still play good.
Hmm.
You know, if anything, that like by playing good, by continuing to play well, will keep your value high
You know what
for the
that's
trades.
called?
You know what I
You know
mean?
what that's called? That's
What?
called being a professional, right? That's called
Yes.
being a
And
professional.
unfortunately, that is something that's not in his vocabulary.
No, unfortunately
But I
not.
called it, you Nets people, you people. I said it the moment that Harden was even being talked about coming to the Nets. I was like, why would you want someone with that kind of toxicity that's also going to leave you hanging? It's like a girl that cheats on you, okay,
Oh my
or
god.
not that cheats on you, but that left her man to be with you. You think that she can't do it to you?
Not and not only that, once she's with you, she's like, you know what? Maybe this wasn't all that it
Yeah,
was meant to
exactly.
be. You know what I'm saying?
Just oh
So
man. Anyway, they played the Knicks. The Nets played the Knicks. He visited back to New York, um, and it wasn't the most fun time. You know, not the
listen,
Nets. No, I'm sorry, not the Philly. Philly played. I'm
Philly.
already referring to him as a net player still. But the Sixers came and played the Knicks. Um, and I think it was actually a winnable game. I do not understand what is going on exactly with the Knicks. It boggles my mind because RJ Barrett 24 points, Randall 16 points. Okay, not great on the points, but rebounds. He had 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Evan Fournier 24 points, quickly 21 points, and we had we had a little bit of work from Mitch Robinson, and even Cam Reddish and Toppin got in 6 points each.
Hmm.
This goes to show me that these aren't bad numbers from the players. They're just I don't understand how it is that they're now I didn't get to watch the game, but how is it that we're giving away these winnable games? You know, you're putting up good stats, you're being good team players. I see assists all over the place, rebounds all over the place, they're hustling, but they're not defending. They're not stopping. They're not doing anything on that side. And the turnovers are crazy.
The turnovers
How
is
are we not fixing that
really
one
problematic.
thing? Protect the ball.
And that was one thing that was frustrating in the game that I saw. It was turnovers all over the place, and again with the Knicks. And I don't know if this happened with Philly, but what is up with these going out to these huge leads and then losing it in the second half? I mean,
Yeah, I don't
that's
know, man.
kind of
I,
that's
I
kind
don't
of
know.
become
I
the
don't understand. Yeah.
staple. That's kind of become the staple of the Knicks lately.
Yeah,
You
you know
know.
they're very heavy on the turnovers in the second half. I feel like their issue is coming out with that I guess that underdog mentality when they're up on points.
Hmm.
It seems like they go to the half, they're doing well, they come out and like, yo, we got this in the bag, and they just don't. You know?
And the game that I saw was the one with the Heat, and it was super frustrating because you saw they had command of the game, and they literally threw the ball game away. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
turnover after silly turnovers too.
yeah,
Now the good thing is that with the Philadelphia 76ers, um, they were losing the entire game, so at least hey, kudos to them. They kind of fixed that right away, right? So at least the Knicks did
yeah.
one good thing.
In a way,
But
sort
I
of.
mean, it's just super, super frustrating when you're watching a Nick game to see that there is potential there because you know what? In the NBA, when you go out to these big leads against good teams, there's got to be something there, right?
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
unless what it is that these teams are coming into Madison Square Garden and completely underestimating the Knicks and figuring, you know what, we don't have to play hard until the fourth quarter, which is
I don't know, man. I don't
which is
know.
a
This
damning
is yeah.
thing,
I mean, that's kind of crazy. You know, it's crazy that
Yeah,
like that the expectation is that like even if the Knicks are winning, that the expectation is like don't worry, they're gonna give it back to us in the fourth. You know,
it's
it's
amazing.
crazy to me. Now there is
What do you
something
think about
else. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, no,
What
go
do
on.
you think about the Kemba Walker situation?
Oh man, I forgot about that too, dude. Like that's kind of weird. It's a very it's so what Walt is referring to is the fact that Kemba Walker and the Knicks have agreed to remove him essentially from the roster and sit him out for the rest of the season.
Shut it
Um,
down. Shut it down.
Basically shut down Kemba Walker, right? So that he can focus on working on skills that he needs to develop and working on his game. At least that's what's coming out from the Kemba Walker camp and the Knicks, right? But then here's the thing, okay? You would think that like right behind this is also potential trade rumors. Kemba Walker
Hmm.
says he has no intention of getting traded and does not want to get traded. He does not want to leave New York. So is he being sat down or is he choosing to sit down so that he can make himself a better Nick?
I mean, let me ask you this question: have you ever heard of another player being shut down so that he could work on his skills during
Not in the
the season? During the
not
season,
not in basketball.
why does this?
In baseball, yeah, because in baseball we have the AAA. If somebody's not doing well, they send him down to AAA to work his game. He's still a valuable asset to the team, still providing for the
That's
team,
true.
and then they bring him back up when he's ready again. But in basketball, we don't have a AAA. We got the G League, but that like Kemba Walker's not going to the G League.
Yeah, I
They're
know.
not going to be instituting that. Like, hey, I'm gonna send you. Well, actually, no. No, this wouldn't count. I'm thinking of uh, what's his name? Oh my god, I'm blanking. I'm so sorry. I see it.
But the D League happens when basketball is not playing, right? So it's not like they can send them down there anyway. You know,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
and again, I don't understand the thinking because it's not like the Knicks are winning anyway. So let him work his issues out on the court with
Yeah,
his teammates so that you can get that chemistry going because
yeah, but I mean, if it doesn't
I
work, it
don't
doesn't work.
understand it.
But here's the thing though. Like, I don't understand why they're not doing this for Randall. To be honest with you, I mean, then again, I do. You can't do if you have to shut someone down, it has to be Kemba over Randall for sure.
Oh yeah, if you shut down Randall,
But
he's not coming back.
yeah, but Randall needs to go back to the drawing board too. He needs to stop with these turnovers. This is going to go into the Randall report real quick
The Randall Report.
because, to be honest with you, the Randall report is he's kind of back to his old ways. And here's the interesting thing: Randall is back to kind of playing this not very productive style of basketball, high turnovers. Ever since RJ Barrett came back into the picture, RJ Barrett comes back and the offense is being led through him again, and he's taking a ball of hype, and then Randall is back to his old ways. It almost seemed like it goes to show. I feel like if that week before the All Star break where Randall was really doing his thing, on every single level, and I was praising him for hustling and bustling and leading the way, high assists, high rebounds, decent scoring, a lot of hustle. But the only common denominator is that RJ Barrett's not there. So maybe it's just that RJ Barrett and Randall do not work together on the court at the same time.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, you look at his first game back out of the All Star break, 2 of 15 from the field. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
exactly.
that
That's what
is
I'm
that
saying.
is
That's what
that
I'm
is
saying. It's
horrible.
crazy.
I mean,
Meanwhile, I think RJ Barrett had 44 points, 46,
46.
46 points.
46. I mean, I really don't understand the Knicks at this point. They are the most confusing team that I follow
So anyway,
by far.
Randall report from my end. I'm gonna give him a D minus. Um, his stats aren't terrible, but it's terrible to see
Yeah,
him.
they are.
They're not that bad. They're not
Yeah, they
that
are.
bad. They're not that bad.
Yeah, they are.
He got 16 points. He had a double double, 16 points, 10 rebounds. That's not bad. Okay. LeBron James gets that kind of scoring like kind of regularly. Okay. And we never chastise him for it. Okay.
Yeah, but he's probably not shooting 4 out of 13 to get those 16 points.
And I get that. That's why he gets a D minus. Okay.
But that's him all the time.
Not all the time.
That is
We have
literally
to.
him
We
all the
have to. We
time.
have to judge it. We have to judge it based on like. What about when he scores 30 points? Is he still in a D?
Listen, a broken clock is right twice a
Oh
day,
my
right?
goodness.
So
Yeah, but it's
I
still right. So when it's right, you
I
call it
am
right. When it's wrong, you call it wrong. Right now,
I
it's a
am
D.
I am just not a fan of Julius Randle. I
Okay,
think
but you can be an objective
Randle.
sportscaster and give me a grade.
Okay, and I'm giving you an F for him.
An
I don't.
F?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, an F. An F is when he scores 2 points and does nothing and is cursing at the crowd and all that. That's
He
an
hasn't
F.
done anything that warrants a positive grade for me in the last week.
A double
Last week
double
games.
doesn't count as positive.
If you're throwing up 16 shots,
It
I
doesn't.
could
Double
probably do
double
that. You
double
know what I'm
double.
saying?
Come on now.
I don't know. I just he is a good player on bad teams. You put him on a good team, he's not a good player. Sorry. You know. That's my feeling
It's
on Julius Randle. He is not your franchise player.
no,
He
no
is
question
not
about it. No
he's
question
not a
about
number
it. But like,
one.
but we can't compare him to LeBron. We got to judge him based on what he's given us.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing him to LeBron. I'm comparing him to himself, and I don't think that he's great.
All right. So
I
if he
really
if
don't.
he if he gets a double double and gets an F, then what is he when he scores nothing?
He's intolerable. Trade him.
Sorry, everyone. Walt over here is being very unreasonable with his grading. I apologize about his lack of
I don't.
objectivity.
I don't think so. I've seen enough of Julius Randle this year to say he's just not that good. I think last year
I
was an
don't think anybody
anomaly.
disputes that. Nobody disputes
Last
that.
year was an anomaly. This is the true Julius Randle. You know.
Nobody's disputing that.
So the faster we move on from him, the better the Knicks will be.
All right. So then, that being said, let's move on from the Knicks to the Nets. It's nothing too crazy regarding the Nets. The Nets also suck. Okay, I believe they're standing in eighth place.
Hmm.
Um, which is interesting because the Knicks can still actually make the play-in tournament. Um, so I don't know what's going to happen there. But what's really interesting is the fact that Kyrie, even though the mask and the vaccine mandate here in New York is about to be lifted on the 7th of March, barring any ridiculous spikes in hospitalizations and stuff. There will be no more mandate for, I guess, public businesses and so on and so forth, and private businesses as well. However, Kyrie will still not be allowed to play home games, which
That's
is
crazy.
really interesting.
Well, the vaccine and the mask mandate don't go away completely. I think there's still certain cases where it's still applicable and stuff. But yeah, I mean, listen,
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though. Like,
I'm I have I'm a big proponent for vaccines. I'm a big proponent for keeping everybody safe. But I hate to say it, the NBA, the way they treat the vaccine and mandates within each arena doesn't make any sense to me.
it doesn't make any sense.
If the goal is to keep people safe, why is it that the home player um is they're
He's being punished, or he's
He's
being
being
like,
punished. Right, exactly.
yeah.
But the away player who's unvaccinated could play.
Now
That
I
makes no
can
sense to me.
now in a way. I mean, I think it's a dumb rule, but in a way, okay. You have no jurisdiction on people from out of state, but you have jurisdiction. You have jurisdiction over your residents, so to speak. So
Yeah, but you know
I
what?
can understand that. But this one doesn't make sense because Kyrie, after the vaccine mandate is lifted, Kyrie can play with the team. Well, he can play with the team now. Okay, I mean,
Hmm.
in practice, he can practice with the team now, um, during home games. He's not able to even be a spectator yet, but starting on the 7th,
He can.
he can be a spectator. So he can be in the
Hmm.
building as a spectator, even though he's not vaccinated, and he can practice with the team as as an employee. So he's not being chastised on the public or private side of it, right? As a spectator, that's the public side of it. not being chastised. As a player, as an employee, that's the private side, of the private entity side of it. He's also being allowed. It doesn't make any sense. And all of this, while yes, visiting teams can play without vaccines, that makes absolutely no sense that they would like either. Like at this point, it is kind of ridiculous. Obviously, I want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to be vaccinated. I want everybody to be healthy. But at a certain point, if you're going to lift the mandate, like why are you making it difficult for one player? Literally
Well,
for only one player in the entire city.
Well, like I said, I think it goes to how these things are being lifted because, yes, the vaccine requirements for indoor dining, fitness, and entertainment venues are being lifted, but those vaccine mandates with respect to employment are still in effect. So, I think that's where you're seeing the disconnect, especially with Kyrie Irving, right? And it's funny because our Mayor Adams, right?
Hmm.
Uh, it sounds like he definitely isn't a Nets fan because he was on CNBC today talking specifically about this, and he was like, "Well, you know what? I'm not going to make an exception for just one player. That's just the way it is. The vaccine mandates are in place, and he's going to have to follow the rules like everybody else. Now, once those vaccine requirements for employers go away, then that's when Kyrie can get back into the flow of these things. But like you said, it's funny because he can be in the arena and watch the game, but he can't be in the arena and play the game. And
Yeah.
that's where everything kind of gets crazy. And
And
to
again, he can
to
practice with the team as well.
can he?
Yeah, he can practice with the team. He's allowed
Okay.
to practice with them.
Okay, I didn't know that part, but I mean, like I said, it's kind of weird the way the NBA has these rules because again, you know, you have away players that can come in and play, and the restriction is not based on the individual; it's based on the venue and the place that you're in, right?
Right.
And so, why is that? Permissible. It's a very very weird and strange rule and stuff. And you know what? My thing is, if you're unvaccinated, you shouldn't be playing. Period. Right.
Yeah.
Um, but you have this weird dichotomy between the two, where it's like, okay, well, you can play, but you can't. You can make a case that's kind of messed up, But I don't know. Listen, there's 7 more games left for the Nets at home, so we'll see what happens. March 7th, they do lift the vaccine requirements for people going in. The employers stayed in place for now, but the way things are going, that might be lifted pretty soon, also because they're looking at the quote unquote numbers,
Yeah.
and supposedly the numbers are good, although we still have you
Well,
know
regardless, the Nets aren't going to have home court advantage anyway, so
right
they're
now
gonna
they're
they
sitting in yeah they're sitting in 8th place right now, so
yeah, so they're not going to be
which
having home court advantage anyway. So you can
yeah,
expect to see the Nets. You can expect to see Kyrie play more of the games in the series since they're going to be on the road a lot.
unless they play the Raptors, because I believe Canada still has that vaccine requirement that nobody unvaccinated could play. If that's the case,
Mm.
you don't see Kyrie for the entire series, so
Yeah, that's going to be a little. That's a tough one.
yeah, that's
That's a tough
crazy.
one. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens you know
All right. So unless there's anything left to discuss, Walt.
Uh, nah, man. I mean, football is football. Football is going through its machinations. Where is Aaron Rodgers going to go? Where is Russell Wilson going to go? But you know what? We'll get into that
Yeah.
when we get
Yeah.
closer. When we get closer to the draft, I think
Any
we've
news
we've
comes out this
done.
week. Any news comes out this week. We'll talk about it on the next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now it's kind of like in that whole "what are we doing" type of thing.
Hmm.
Teams are still trying to figure out where they're going to go, and players are trying to figure out where they're going. Plus, we've talked plenty about the NFL with that great postseason that they had, so we can take a break for it
I
until
just
we
wish
get.
we had some baseball to talk about.
Yeah. Well, we do have baseball to talk about. It's just not the good kind.
Ugh.
So,
Anyway, all right. Well, that's gonna do it for us. Once again, thank you guys for joining us, and don't forget to hit the like, rate, share, and subscribe buttons. All of them, with all our social media platforms that you can find us in, and thank you guys so much. It was awesome.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
always fun to spend some time with my main man Walt.
Booyah.
Anyways, peace out.
Later, people.